my friends. You were the winners last month, and I had the most Cancer viewers. So thank you for tuning in and watching. Your video for September gets to come out first. So today we are talking about all of the September transits that will be happening in the month of September. So get your calendar ready, get your natal chart ready, and I am your astrology coach. So my goal here is to teach you about the transits that will be coming up, how you might work with that energy, and just know what to anticipate. So feel free to grab that calendar, be ready to write some dates down, and we will get you ready for the month of September. All right. If you don't have your natal chart, don't know how to draw up your natal chart, I will tag a video in the notes so you can learn how to use AstroSeek to bring up your natal chart. It's always good to have it handy because if you have any natal planets that are touching any of these points I will be talking about today, it certainly will make an impact on how September will be affecting you. So be sure to grab your natal chart. Let's get started. I'm going to bring up your chart and grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's get to it. All right, so here we go with your chart up, and just wanting to let you know I am working on the microphone. I know it's coming across very loud, a little echoey, so I am moving the microphone a little bit further, and hopefully we can work to adjust it to make a happy medium. All right, so I brought your chart up here. This is a Cancer rising chart. Again, you can listen for your Cancer rising or your Cancer sun sign over the age of 40. Your sun sign may be more relevant. I certainly listen to both. This is a Cancer rising chart. Your moon sign has to do with kind of your inner inhibitions, things that you may feel that you don't always let the world around you know what's going on. So we have a lot that's happening on September 1st, and I will go through that. And then it gets quiet again till about September 10th. So we do have Mars in your first house. So this is going to drive your personal initiative. Mars brings energy, right? We've talked about Mars before in previous weeks. Mars is going to bring confidence around your self-expression, your physical energy through an intuitive, protective lens. So while Mars is in Cancer, can sometimes hesitate or act out of emotional defensiveness, and its presence in your first house demands that your personal needs and boundaries take center stage. So we also have Mercury in your third house, which is Virgo, and it's placed in the house in sign where Mercury has the highest strength. It's in its domicile, in its exaltation. So Mercury operates with very razor sharp analytical skills, very detail-oriented, practical logic. So communication, writing, learning, your daily interactions are all highly organized during this time. So we have this sextile going on between Mars and Mercury. This is a supportive aspect that creates an easy bridge of opportunity between emotional impulse and rational thought. So how this affects you? So Mars in Cancer can make reactions feel personal or defensive, but Mercury in Virgo is going to provide the exact words that you need to articulate your feelings calmly, logically, and persuasively. This can also bring about strategic problem solving. So your gut instincts, Cancer, pay attention to because they're paired with planning, which is what Virgo brings. And you don't just feel what needs to change, you're able to map it out with Mercury's help to process and fix it. Also clear boundary setting. So this first house activation urges you to stand up for yourself, bringing you more confidence, while the third house Mercury is going in to ensure that you do so tactfully and with precision. This also is an ideal window for tackling complex writing, administrative tasks, difficult personal discussions, or physical projects that require both care and attention to detail. So with Mars in the first house squaring Saturn to the 10th in Aries is another conjunction that we have coming up. So a square will bring some tension. So we have Mars in the first house, which I've already talked about, urges you to act on your personal instincts and protect your boundaries. Will help you move forward with your emotional priorities, right? We know Mars isn't really happy in the sign of Cancer. They're just kind of yin and yang opposites. And then we have Saturn in your 10th house of Aries. 10th house is career. So this is going to demand discipline, patience, accountability, can often be presented through strict deadlines or career pressures or demands from authority figures. So with this square going on, we could see some frustration or delays with expectations at work. Because both planets are in challenging sign placements, right? Mars in Cancer can be a little defensive. And then we have Saturn in Aries, which can also be impatient. So attempts to assert yourself can feel blocked by external structures, rules, or even bosses. How this might manifest in your life, you might be feeling micromanaged, scrutinized, or hindered by your superiors or public expectations when you try to take an initiative. Personal goals hit administrative or professional walls, right? Mars and Saturn is going to kind of call time out. You're going to feel like you're being blocked. So wanting to move fast only gets met with slowdown, right? Mars wants to move fast. Saturn is going to slow things down. So facing roadblocks at work could be possible. Balancing your personal well-being, first house themes with heavy public or career burdens, 10th house, can lead to emotional exhaustion if you try to force these outcomes. All right, so how can you leverage this? This is what I'm here for, your astrology coach, right? I'm telling you the transits coming up. So you want to know, okay, this is what's happening. How do I work with it? So your Mercury in Virgo in the third house from the earlier configuration is going to provide you an exit ramp. So when Mars wants to react emotionally and Saturn imposes a wall, Mercury in Virgo is going to help. It's going to allow you to pause, think about the details, and it's going to help you present a practical, unemotional case. So precision, strategy, and clear communication will dissolve the tension far better than brute force will. So Cancers, I want to ask you, are you currently dealing with a pushback from a manager, or are you trying to launch a personal project while under these heavy work deadlines? If so, let me know how this resonates with you. All right, our next transit is happening on September 10th. So let me move my wheel. All right, so on the 10th, Venus is entering the sign of Scorpio in your 5th house over here. So this might make you feel a little spicy, a little sassy in your romantic life. Venus here, I believe, takes on a more darker, mysterious quality here, trying new things, possibly in the bedroom. All right, I think you might feel a little adventurous here. So Venus in Scorpio in the 5th house is going to seek deep, transformative connections in love, in art, in personal pleasure. So it's demanding total authenticity, emotional depth, and devotion in dating and creative projects. So it can also lead to jealousy, secrecy, or love affairs, right? Scorpio is like the dark side of love. So keep that in mind. It's dark, it's secretive, and Venus here it's going to take on more of a sexy quality. All right. So enjoy that transit, my Cancer friends. We have Mercury entering Libra in your fourth house of home and family. So we may be having to problem solve family matters, or we may get some new ideas. Mercury's just going to open communication. And we have this interesting T-square with Mars in the first house and Saturn in the 10th. All right, let me grab this here. So we've got Saturn in your 10th house in Aries. We have Mars in your first house, and then we have Mercury in the fourth, okay? So you see this that's going on? I'm not good at drawing straight lines. So your thoughts are going to turn inward toward those family dynamics, your home environment, your living arrangements. Libra's going to bring a strong desire for fairness, right? Libra is all about fairness and balance. So open dialogue or balance within your personal space. All right. Maybe even making it lovely. I think Libra's ruled by Venus. So you may see some of those Venus qualities come out through the home. So leaving Virgo, right? So Mercury is leaving Virgo to enter Libra. And this means losing that easy analytic sextile to Mars. So instead of easily mapping out these logical situations, Mercury in Libra tends to weigh every option carefully, which can lead to indecision or over accommodating others to keep the peace, right? Do you know any Libras in your life that have a hard time making decisions? That is something that you may see within the home setting. So this cardinal T-square with Mars in Cancer in your first house, Saturn in Aries in the 10th, and now we're adding Mercury in Libra in the fourth. These are three major areas of your life which are going to be pulled into some high pressure situations. So there is an opposition between Mercury and Saturn, right? They're across the way. You see that here? So oppositions cause a little more friction. So this could mean some difficult conversations about home, boundaries, or family needs. Saturn often represents elders, so it could be a hard conversation with an elder parent or an older sibling, or could also mean rigid demands from your career. And I'm saying bosses because it's Saturn, right? Saturn has to do with elders. Could just be someone that's older in your work environment. Also could include public expectations as well. So then this square with Mercury and Mars, again, sorry, more friction, difficult conversations about home, about boundaries, about family needs. Again, hitting those walls, hitting those blocks. So internal emotional frustration, personal needs can spill into domestic communications in your fourth house. This could lead to some passive aggressive tension. So keep that in mind. Some ways that this may manifest in the real world, right? Those work-life boundary clashes. You may feel yourself being caught in the middle, trying to resolve a personal or family matter while being squeezed by heavy work demands, or trying to please everyone at home to avoid conflict. This could backfire. So the temptation to soft pedal your words can delay essential decisions. Decisions around relocating, redecorating, or setting house rules to require rebalancing what you need and what key authority figures or family members expect. So how do we navigate this, right? To navigate this the best, lean on clear, objective mediation if you are having conversations with family members. Keep it clear. State family or living requirements directly without tiptoeing around pressures. Okay, so Cancer, I want to ask you, are domestic decisions or living arrangements currently being disrupted by demands from your job or an authority figure? We don't know yet until this transit happens on or around September 10th, but keep this in mind. All right, let me grab my eraser and erase this because we are now moving on to what's happening next, and that is Uranus moving retrograde. All right, so Uranus is here in your 12th house and going retrograde. So this makes it a little interesting. So your outer world chaos can be quieting down and being replaced by internal, those aha moments. Any hidden anxieties, limiting beliefs, or self-sabotaging patterns that usually run on autopilot suddenly become glaringly clear, which can help you dismantle them and fix those issues. This can also bring about psychological and emotional cleansing. So the 12th house does rule things that are hidden. It rules repressed memories, karmic ties. So the retrograde acts like a pressure release valve for unhealed grief or old conditioning that you've carried quietly behind the scenes. Some of those old karmic patterns. It's time to break free of them. Sounds very liberating, right? Uranus can do that. So solitude becomes vital rather than lonely. You find that it's something you need for survival. So expect some intuitive downloads during this time. You may experience erratic sleep cycles or vivid dreams that show you exactly where you need personal freedom. So pay attention to your dreams. They're trying to signal what those patterns are and how you can release them. All right, also happening on the 10th, that's what September is all about. We have these clusters going on. So that's why it's important to mark your calendar. So we talked about September 1st. We are still on September 10th. So we also have a new moon in Virgo, which is in your third house. So here, Virgo's analytical precision meets your third house of mental processing. This is a very natural new moon for you. Remember, new moons are where we want to manifest. We want to plant the seeds for what we want within this house. So this is an ideal window to tackle complex writing projects or learn a technical skill or even clear out your inbox or build a new daily routine. You really want to optimize your local environment. Third house is also siblings and neighborhood. So the focus is going to turn to your immediate surroundings. How are you improving your daily commutes or reorganizing schedules or just creating a better structure in your interactions with siblings, neighbors, or your daily contacts? All right. So it's not going to be life-changing, this new moon. It's a really gentle new moon because it just fits so perfectly with Virgo. All right, our next transit is happening on the 12th. Let's spin the wheel to the 12th. And on the 12th, we have Mercury entering Libra in the fourth house. And Mercury is trining Pluto in your eighth house of Aquarius. So Mercury in the fourth house, we know, touches your home, family, and roots, while Pluto in the eighth house is going to dig beneath the surface. So you have the leverage to uncover old psychological patterns or unsaid family secrets without triggering any defensive arguments. The fourth house rules property and living costs, while the eighth house is governing those joint finances, taxes, loans, your shared resources. This aspect strongly favors strategic planning around your mortgages, estate matters, or long-term security. So maybe you want to refinance. Take a look at all of those matters. This is a good time for that. When external career demands of the 10th house and your personal frustrations in the first push you to the brink, going deep in the 8th and speaking with honest, strategic clarity can help resolve that block that we talked about earlier. So Cancers, are you facing a sensitive family discussion, or are you working through a complex financial decision behind the scenes? You may see some of that on September 12th. And our next event happens on the 15th. All right, and on the 15th, Venus in your 5th house of Scorpio is squaring Pluto in Aquarius in the 8th house. So we know squares bring a little bit of friction. That's why I'm here, to let you know it's coming and help you work with the energy. So because both Scorpio and Aquarius are fixed signs, this tension can manifest as a standoff between your personal desire for your creative expression and some heavy background issues around trust, intimacy, or shared money. So think about it. Are you putting up a wall? Are you putting up a block? Be aware of this on the 15th. Don't block people out. All right, so some ways that this might manifest for you. The 5th house is such a large house. There's a lot that it can entail. So think about how this might apply for you and what's going on in your life. So it could have to do with dating or current relationships, and you may experience an intense magnetic attraction mixed with some power struggles or some fears of vulnerability or boundary battles. So this might push you to stop hiding behind your emotional armor, right? Cancers, we have that hard shell and we're ooey gooey underneath. So if it's someone that you care about, don't be afraid to let them in. This is also a transit for art, writing, or performance. Channeling dark, complex, or taboo emotions into a creative project can yield some brilliant, captivating results. It can also, you might also feel a clash between wanting to spend money on pleasure, hobbies, or leisure, 5th house themes, but then you're dealing with those shared debts, your obligations, your partner's financial stress in the 8th house. So you may feel some pressure there. So watch out for emotional fixations. Make sure you're not obsessing too much over a person or a creative idea or taking on a financial gamble. So this fixed square will make it easy to get locked into a rigid perspective. So keep your mind open. And how do we navigate this energy? So let's think about transmuting this instead of fighting it, right? I always say, go with the flow. The universe is trying to teach us and show us different things. So if you start to feel jealous, or you start to feel suspicious, or a fear of loss, ask yourself what psychological pattern Pluto is trying to purge, right? Pluto is trying to bring awareness to something, could be any one of those things. And Pluto wants you to stop that cycle, get rid of it, right? I always say things have to get messy before they get clean. So transforming these intense feelings into art or honest emotional vulnerability is going to help release the pressure here. All right, and then our next event is on the 17th, and let me turn my wheel there. We are talking about Chiron. Have you watched my little short video on Chiron? It's all about your natal placement of Chiron in your chart and what it means for you. So Chiron is the wounded healer. He's going to bring awareness to things, and then when he's done in this transit, he helps to heal. So Chiron on September 17th is leaving Taurus, and this back and forth motion, he's going retrograde, acts like a cosmic final exam. Okay, he's pulling energy back into Aries one last time to finish uncompleted business before settling into Taurus for good through 2033. So for the collective, All right, you're certainly going to want to look where Chiron is in your natal chart. This is a collective reading, so it's your basic bell curve. So the shift back into Aries is happening September 2026 on the 17th. This will go through April 2027, and it forces us a last look at wounds that are surrounding courage and self-assertion. So before the collective can fully focus on Taurus themes like economic security, body wisdom, self-worth, we have to clear out any remaining fear of standing up for ourselves. So do you encounter that sometimes, Cancer, where you're letting things go and you're not always standing up for yourself? So while Chiron's brief taste of Taurus gave you a preview of healing in your 11th house, which is rebuilding trust in your friendships, your group dynamics, and your future dreams. So it's retrograding back into Aries, bordering your 10th house. So it's really asking you, where are you still holding back your authority? Or are you second guessing your right to lead? I'm a Cancer rising, and I have to say that that definitely applies to me. And I often doubt my leadership skills sometimes. So let me know if you are resonating with this. So Chiron turns direct in early January 2027 and will permanently re-enter Taurus in April 2027. So at that point, the identity-focused healing of Aries closes completely, and the 7-year focus on grounded self-worth and community stability takes over. All right, so you got to heal yourself, believe in yourself, and the next step will be within our friend groups and social groups. All right, we are moving along to September 21st, which is our next transit. All right, so here we have Mercury in our 4th house of Libra, sextiling Jupiter in Leo, our 2nd house of finances. And in addition to this, we also have Jupiter trining the asteroid Pallas. So Pallas is in Aries in your 10th house. Sorry, I don't have Pallas on this chart here. But it infuses your public role and your career ambitions with sharp, decisive problem-solving skills. So use this window to help develop professional plans or negotiate contracts or make long-term financial commitments that are connected to your living situations. Your mind is going to be very diplomatic. Your career strategy is going to be sharp, and your confidence is going to be backed by results. So Cancers, are you contemplating a career move or a business launch or a financial plan where your home environment or family plays a key supporting role? Let me know what you've got in the works. I know for me, I would love to be able to just do astrology and work from home. Let me know what you are thinking about, Cancers, and how that transit might affect you. So the next day on the 22nd, we have the sun entering Libra in your 4th house. This is going to really put a spotlight on your home and your family. And the sun is going to bring energy to that T-square we talked about earlier, and will really demand that you stop putting your private life on the back burner to satisfy those job pressures. So this is going to really boost financial confidence with that sextile to Jupiter in the 2nd house. As the sun moves through Libra, its sextile to Jupiter in Leo highlights how a secure, peaceful home base acts as the foundation for expanding your income and your self-worth. And then we have this trine to Pluto in the 8th house. So the sun's upcoming air trine to Pluto grants you the conscious strength to transform those family dynamics, maybe to handle joint property or financial matters, and release deeply ingrained emotional conditioning. All right, and then we are getting closer to the end. On the 26th, we have an exciting full moon in Aries. There we go. So this is happening in your 10th house of career. So this full moon is going to bring a decisive career culmination, right? A full moon is all about completing a circle, a public turning point, really offering you the momentum to claim your authority with some high stakes strategic backing. Oops, sorry about that. Oh, don't mind me, dog barking, just barking at birds out the window. I'm only doing a video here. All right. Back to our full moon in Aries. So the full moon brings matters to a head, bringing visibility, completion, or revelation in your career house of Aries. So this could be a professional project, a leadership effort, or just your public reputation reaching a critical peak. So it really demands courage and self-assertion. So we have this 10th house moon versus our 4th house sun, right? They're in opposition. That's what makes a full moon. We also have the moon here sandwiched with Saturn and Neptune in the 10th house. But it's sitting directly opposite the sun in Libra in the 4th. So this is going to force a final resolution between your career drive and your private domestic needs. So you've been having a compromise here, right? Between home, between work. Hopefully we will see some culmination here. And then there also is a sextile to Pluto. So we have Pluto in Aquarius in your 8th house. It's forming a bridge here to this emotional peak. So instead of feeling exposed and reckless, Pluto is going to grant some quiet intensity, some strategic action, some access to deep resources, such as maybe an investor backing or joint financial arrangements, some legacy support or institutional power, right? Hopefully, whatever project you're working on is going to bring in some chunky money here for you. So if you've ever felt micromanaged or blocked by Saturn in your 10th house, I know I have, this full moon sextiling Pluto is going to give you some leverage to shift that power balance in your favor. Okay, so we're going to take a difficult professional situation and it's going to bring about some personal empowerment. Don't you love that? All right, we're talking a lot about squares and opposition, so this is actually something positive. So mark that down on your calendar. How this might manifest for you in your life could be reaching a major deadline or launching a public campaign or just stepping into a long-awaited role that you've been waiting for. It could be about securing funding for a project you're working on or navigating an estate or tax transition or settling a shared financial agreement that accelerates your career goals. So standing up to authority figures or changing your career trajectory with calm, undeniable conviction could also be happening during this transit. All right, and our next transit is on September 27th, the next day. So we have Mars finally getting out of Cancer, and Mars is entering Leo, which is your 2nd house of finances and self-worth. So this is an exit from that T-square pressure that I talked about earlier in the month. So moving out of Cancer in your 1st house releases that intense emotional friction that Mars held against Saturn in the 10th and in your Libra planets in the 4th. So again, you want to check your natal charts to see if you have any natal planets in your 10th, 1st, or 4th house, because that could certainly change the energy here for you. So your actions become far less reactive and much more focused on tangible gains. So this also brings a fire energy to your financial sector. Usually where Mars goes, he's going to bring some energy. He's going to bring, right, some pressure in that area. Mars brings passion, stamina. Mars also brings impatience too to your second house of money, material assets, and your personal values. Leo's going to add a desire for pride, recognition, and abundance, which is great for the house of your money and self-worth. So how might this manifest for you in your life? You could possibly gain the confidence and drive to hustle for more money, ask for a raise your rates if you have a side business, or launch a profitable project that utilizes your talents. Leo loves luxury, quality, and generosity. So Mars here might also trigger the impulse in buying some high-end items or spending money on entertainment that you maybe normally wouldn't, or even status symbols aimed at boosting your confidence, right? Maybe driving a more luxury car. Maybe that is in the works for you here. Your boundaries around self-worth will become non-negotiable. You will have zero patience for anyone that undervalues your work, time, or your contributions. Duly noted, right? Mars can bring heat. So keep an eye out for minor conflicts or arguments regarding budgets or your personal belongings or even shared spending priorities. So we do still have Jupiter in our second house. This is good. So Jupiter is still active in Leo. So this Mars ingress could also act as an accelerator for Jupiter's growth. Jupiter has been working on expanding your finances all of this time since it moved into your second house. So you can channel this high octane drive into generating income, pitching ideas, investing in yourself while keeping a firm leash on unnecessary splurges. All right, and then on the 30th, we have Mercury entering the sign of Scorpio in your fifth house there with Venus. So your gut instincts are going to be sharp here regarding dating, regarding creative risks and any personal projects, even your children. So your children are also represented in the fifth house. So you can read between the lines easily and sense what people are holding back. How this might manifest for you in your life. Let's see. Small talk might drop out of your dating life. Conversations with romantic partners could get serious, probing, and more intense. Mercury is going to bring curiosity. It's a great window to discuss any unspoken feelings or shared desires or deep trust. Just don't test your partner here, all right? It's not a test, but it's a good time to, I guess, be a little more adventurous in your communication. If you write, perform, or create things, or solve complex problems, this is a very productive transit for you. It's a good time to channel intense, raw, or cathartic emotions into your art or into your projects or hobbies. If you have children or work with young people, conversations may turn a little deeper or more meaningful life lessons rather than surface level topics. Okay, so let's see. We have some fixed sign attention here. So as Mercury moves through Scorpio, it will clash with Mars in Leo, which is also in your second house, and Pluto in your eighth house. So this reactivates the fixed sign energy in your chart. Again, forcing those honest conversations about how your personal pleasures and creative risks could impact your finances and your shared assets or your trust with your partner. But rather than acting on impulse, Mercury in Scorpio is going to help you think 3 steps ahead before making a bold, creative, or romantic move. So Cancers, as we close this month, and you get to the end of September, I guess think about if you're looking to channel this mental focus into a creative project, or are you going to move ahead with a deep conversation in your romantic life? Let me know in the comments. That has brought us to the end of the September transit. So I hope you have a wonderful September. Let's hope that your sign wins again and you are the first to get your October transit. So tune in every week. I have a video that goes out every week for what's to come that week. If you forget what I went through in the month of September, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you are notified when I put out new videos. I really appreciate you being here. All of my friends in the UK, Canada, US, tell me where you're from. I really appreciate you, and thank you for taking the time and spending it with me. All right, so I'm wishing you a great month of everyone. Take care.